Hello there ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's Alexander Hilly123 here and it's time for a new video. And as you can see from the title today, it is time for a new pickups video. And as you can see as well, different surroundings. I'm in the box bedroom today. I thought I'd just mix it up and be in a different room. I felt like it's a bit brighter in here as well. Bit of a strange setup I've got going on here. If you could only see me, holy shit, you'd be laughing. I'm lying on my bed. The pillow is below the laptop. It's supporting it, and the microphone is sat on my stomach with a pop filter in front of it. It looks like I've got no neck. I'm just comfortable like this, ladies and gentlemen, right now, but I understand that it looks absolutely ridiculous and quite farcical, no doubt. I really do look like I've got no neck. It's not incredibly comfortable, this, but it'll do for the next 20 to 25 minutes or so. And also, ladies and gentlemen, and if any of you guys can help me out with this, it would be much appreciated, but I'm using this new Logitech software again, and it's boiling my fucking piss because I'm using my Blue Snowball, and I know it isn't an issue with the Blue Snowball because the Blue Snowball still sounds exactly the same and very good quality when I'm using Elgato game capture software or when I'm using OBS. But when I use the Logitech software, it sounds a lot worse. I know it is using the Snowball, I can see it in front of me, but for whatever reason the audio isn't as good. If you guys have got any ideas as to why that might be the case, please tell me. I'm wondering if it could be the CPU running so high that it's making the audio worse. I'm not very savvy with computers, but I just don't understand it. Why would it be the case that the same microphone sounds worse on a different software? Answers please. By the way guys, I will be reacting to a lot of the goings on at E3 in a couple of weeks. Microsoft Bethesda, 13th of June I think it is, on a Sunday. If you like me being cynical, if you like me talking shit, since I've been reacting to a lot of goings on at E3 since about 2017 or 18, then please stay tuned because we'll be reacting. And obviously we've got the coronavirus. Some publishers and devs are running off scared, saying, oh, it's been a difficult year, we've not been able to get into the studio, don't expect much from us. And then you've got studios saying, get this game out, we're gonna be there because we need to sell this game. So you've got quite an interesting balance of devs and publishers going to E3 and really excited to show off new stuff, and then ones that are like, we're not ready yet. But it could be an interesting one because obviously we've had the PS5 and Series X out for about 8 months by now, perhaps, maybe just a bit less. Now, for the first year of even the PS2 and Xbox 360 and classic consoles like that, it's always been a little slow, but for the love of Christ, we really need to start seeing some games at E3. And now is the time. I absolutely don't doubt that we'll be disappointed, but I want to see some new games. Not only new games, but I want to see some new franchises. I really do, because I'm bloody sick of people being fleeced and modern games having to pay way too much. And yeah, it's time to see some new franchises. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is the pickups video, a very relaxed one in the bed, of course. And I've 6 to show off today on the PC, the Xbox One and the PS4 Pro. And the first one I want to talk about is Football Manager 2021 Touch. Just like 2020 Touch, I had a lot of fun on Football Manager. Probably the most fun I've had since 2012. There are 3 versions of Football Manager, if you don't know. Touch, the mobile version, and then the full fat version. And for me, the Touch version of the game strikes the best balance. It reminds me of the the late Champman games and the early Football Manager games. You don't have to worry about the players' egos. There's still a heck of a lot of the tactics to do. I quite like the social media aspect of Football Manager, where your fans are criticising you before a game and all that shit. It's quite silly and funny. But yeah, quite simply, with lockdown, I needed a game to kill time, and holy shit, did Football Manager come through. It's a shame because back in the day when they started doing Classic, as it was called back then, Sports Interactive actually bundled Classic with the main game as one whole package, but these days they're not doing that. Instead, you've got to pay separate. What they're hoping is that you'll buy Touch and then think, oh, I want the full fat version, or vice versa. They're just trying to maximise the amount of money they can get off you. Sports Interactive are very savvy, they're very clever, and ultimately they're very greedy. But I have to thank them because I've plugged in about 460 hours of Touch 21. I've had a very good time indeed. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, is a game I got digitally. Every single game apart from one here is digital, unfortunately. I absolutely hate it. Going forward, I want to make some more space for physical games that I'm excited for, because like I've said before, games like Outer Worlds and Days Gone, I got those digitally in the last couple of years. Really enjoyed them, and thus kind of wish that I had a physical copy. I still like physical copies, ladies and gentlemen, and these digital only consoles I don't like, because Microsoft and Sony are going to set higher prices for you and you're going to get shafted. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, I digress. Shadow of the Tomb Raider on the PS4 Pro is the next game I'm talking about here today. And in early 2016, I started Rise of the Tomb Raider and I plugged in about 6 hours or so of the game, and then I stopped playing because I reached a semi-open world area and I just wasn't ready to cooperate with the game, and I wasn't wanting that kind of game from Tomb Raider, and I stopped playing. Earlier, not this year, but earlier last year, 2020, but this time last year actually, I repurchased Rise of the Tomb Raider on the PS4 Pro. Obviously, better frame rate and all that, better performance. I got past the area where I was getting annoyed at, and I ended up really enjoying the game. And, you know, Tomb Raider 2013, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I think the series has evolved naturally, and I've enjoyed the evolution from 2013, where it was much more action orientated, up until Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the third of the reboot, where there's a lot more puzzles and exploration, and I think they've hit a really good balance. Yet and still online I'm seeing people complain that there's still too much action. Who are these boring bastards who don't like shooting and just want the game to be like fucking Myst or some pure puzzle game? Christ almighty, man. No, the balance in Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider I liked, although with Shadow of the Tomb Raider there was an area of the game which was purely, it was an open hub area of the game where you had all these NPCs giving you quests with a shit dialogue, and all I could think of was, this is Ubisoft level design. This is Ubisoft all over. This is shit modern Assassin's Creed stuff, which is just fucking garbage, man. And that brought it down somewhat. But overall, I did enjoy it, and the locations are lovely. The woman who plays Lara Croft sounds hot as fuck as well, so we can't complain, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, I had a good time with it, but apparently now, with the Tomb Raider games, they're going to have a bit of a break, a couple of years off, and then come back when we've gotten used to the PS5 Series X technology. And I think by now, after the reboot trilogy, they need to revolutionise the gameplay a little bit and show us something a little bit different to avoid it becoming stale. And speaking of stale, ladies and gentlemen, quite rude of me, but it's Gears 5 on the Xbox One or Series X as well. I'm sure that game looks beautiful on the Series X, but yeah, Gears 5 I got free Xbox Live games with gold, and I have to say, overall, I think I preferred Gears 5 to Gears 4, and gameplay wise, really fun, a nice game world, new cool enemies. I think, sorry if you heard my guts there, ladies and gentlemen, I think the Coalition, the devs, have evolutionised, not revolutionised, the Gears series, but I can't quite put my finger on it as to why I prefer the older games. I think I just much prefer the old characters, and a lot of Gears fans, if you look online, they really dislike the newer games, although a decent amount of them were hating the new game because you play as a female character, which is a bit daft, to be honest with you. The story was a bit silly with Gears 5, and there was something that happened, I don't want to give spoilers away, but there's something happened late on in the game which I wasn't too keen on, to say the least. But you know, there's some good new weapons, some good new enemies, the game looks beautiful even on a default Xbox One. But I don't know what it is. Like, I could do another playthrough getting all collectibles, but ultimately, a game like Gears 5, you have a look how many achievements there are for the game, how many different multiplayer maps there are, co-op, and all this different kind of shit. They do put effort into these games. Obviously they do, because Microsoft realise they haven't got much else, but I think it might just be that because we've seen these games before, since 2006, we just want a new franchise, and hearing that, you know, the Uncharted games are going to come back potentially, it's like, I love these old games, Uncharted 1, 2, 3, Gears 1, 2, 3, but that's where, you know, Uncharted 3 was the last Uncharted game on the PS3, I think, Gears 3, and then, you know, 4 was on the Xbox One, as we headed into a new generation is what I'm saying. And as such, I think we need to see some new franchises, like I said about E3. I like Gears 5, but whether I'll go back for a third, fourth playthrough, I do doubt it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about two smaller games, two indie games, one that I absolutely detested, and one which I've stopped playing, but I hate it when I appreciate a game, but I stop playing it because it's annoying me. But we'll get onto that in a minute. We'll talk about the one I couldn't stand first. And that game that I couldn't stand, ladies and gentlemen, is a game called Carrion. Let me just have a look on Wikipedia here. Carrion, which was released in July 2020, it's not even a year old yet, is a horror video game developed by Phobia Game Studios and published by Devolver Digital, described as a reverse horror game. The game allows players to control a tentacled monster whose objective is to make its way through a facility, stalking and killing humans in its path. Players control a red, amorphous, tentacled monster of unknown origin. The monster must make its way through a facility, crawling through vents, killing scientists and soldiers. The player can obtain upgrades such as the ability to dash, break through wooden barricades, and access otherwise unreachable areas to grow in size. And I love the idea of Carrion. It's set in like an Aliens, if you will, kind of game world. It's 2D perspective. But there was one thing that just stopped me playing this game and made me detest it, really. And that is the fact that the game should have had a map. This game, level design wise, is all over the place. It's so confusing. And it's one of these games that quite simply doesn't tell you what you need to be doing. There's mechanics that you will just bypass, not realise are there. And I just found it really frustrating. I got lost and I needed to get back to an area where it's that kind of game where you go off screen, the game goes to black, and then you appear in a different area, and then you go upwards and you go left, and then it's like, where am I? Like, dude, I get lost in my own fucking bedroom. In a game like this, I've got absolutely no chance. And I think you've got to cater for the fact that some gamers are much better than others with that kind of level design, and I'm not very good. I get lost easily. I check maps all the time, and I just found Carrion really frustrating because of that. I remember you needed to kind of sit on this growth in the spaceship. You engulfed it, and you got bigger in size, like, you know, Wikipedia said there. But it never actually tells you that. You've just got to do it and press, I think it's like LT and A. And it's like, without telling the gamer to press those two buttons, how are they going to know? I just, oh man, it was quite a while ago now, about 3 or 4 months ago that I tried playing it, but I didn't enjoy it. I rage quit it, and for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been persevering through games that have annoyed me. I did have a period around about 2016-17 where I played about 4 or 5 games in a row, and every single one of them I was just rage quitting and thinking, this industry is just not for me anymore. In the last 3 or 4 years, I've really persevered through games, and it's okay for every game not to be for you. You know what I mean? There are some games which you can appreciate, but say there are aspects of this game that mean that I'm just not going to end up completing it. And Carrion was one of them. It's not a very long game, but it's just perplexing level design, and it frustrated the life out of me. And next up, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about a game where I have similar feelings about, but ultimately I have a lot more respect for than Carrion. It's Darkwood, which I purchased on my Xbox One, and this was released in 2017. The PS4 and Xbox One versions were released in 2019, I do believe. But ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't played Darkwood and you're interested in what it sounds like, I have to say, do not buy it on console for the love of Christ, because the controls were never meant for a console game. So that's something it's got against it, which you can say, well, is that the dev's fault? They can try and make it work on a controller, but ultimately it just didn't work very well. And I really enjoyed a lot of aspects of Darkwood. I've put about 3 sessions into it, about 8 to 10 hours. It's a much longer game than Carrion, a totally different kind of game if I'm being honest, even though it's still an indie dev. It's a survival horror game that's top down, and the game takes place in a mysterious dark forest somewhere in Poland or the territory of the Soviet bloc. The game features a semi-open world with the player unlocking new areas as the storyline progresses. It also features a crafting system, a day-night cycle, trading and non-other player character (NPC) interaction, a skill system, stealth and combat, stealth, I never encountered that, as well as multiple storyline branches which alter several aspects of the world. During daytime, the player can explore the world and scavenge for supplies at several locations scattered around each biome. The player may also spend this time repairing doors, barricades, or in the hideout. The player can cook hallucinogens at his stove to gain access to various skills, and if you survive the night where the monsters attack you in your kind of base, you get more reputation with the traders, so your prices are better. There's absolutely tons of shit going on in this game. I really enjoy what they were going for, but I just feel like the game is a little bit too ambitious within its top-down perspective, is what I would say. And I've made it to the end of day 8, but I'm really fucking struggling now because I'm playing on normal. I'm doing badly, really badly, I'll admit. And this is a game that is tough. This is a game that's very difficult in my opinion. I've got absolutely next to nothing in my inventory, and every time I die, I wake up at the start of the next day and it's like, right, well, I've not got enough to survive in terms of weapons, in terms of health items. The traders don't have enough respect for me. I can't get anything from them. So I decided I was just going to run to other areas of the map. Hello there, Mr. Alarm. I was going to run off to other areas of the map, but I just kept running into trouble. This is a dangerous, dangerous game world where there are poisonous mushrooms on the floor. If you accidentally step on them, it will take health off you. There are bird traps everywhere. It's like playing Evil Within. And yeah, it's just really, really difficult. I just wish with Darkwood that it was a little bit more straightforward. You know, I played 8 hours. I never got access to a gun. I got access to one torch. When the combat, it's clunky as fuck, man. I tried to use a torch to hit an enemy, but I kept getting stun locked and I just died. And yeah, I'll admit I found it a bit too tough, and that's on normal difficulty. But I don't hate the game. I might go back to it, but ultimately I can't see how I'm going to get out of this cycle of constantly dying, because unfortunately Darkwood does something when you die that I really, really hate, and that is that it takes away random things that are in your inventory. So it'll say, right, I'll take out that gasoline can, the boards that you need to barricade your shit, so you've got to go out the next day and get it all again. And it's that Dark Souls inspired gameplay that I am despising. I believe that new game, Returnal, another game where you die, you do it all over again, and I don't like that. I like checkpoint systems, and I really just quite simply don't like where we're going with video games. Not giving you a difficulty option, or not giving you an easy mode. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't play easy mode on my first playthrough, but with Darkwood I think I jolly well would, because I honestly think that if Darkwood had an easy mode, it would entice a lot of other people, because there's so many mechanics to play the game again on a harder mode once they know what the fuck's going on. Darkwood, ambitious, I respect the devs, I might go back to it, but it's one of those games that is very frustrating, a lot going on, a lot that I did like, but a lot that I hated as well. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this, guys, if you played Darkwood, what you indeed thought of it. But last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, run up to 20 minutes now, got to keep this short if I can. I wanted to do a video on this standalone, but I can't be arsed, because I also wanted to do a review of Last of Us 2 with the 1 year anniversary of the game coming out, but ultimately I don't think I can be even asked with that, with E3 coming up in a few weeks, so whatever. But yeah, it's Resident Evil Village, and like I said before, if I did do so, I can't remember if I actually did say in this video, but the old Resident Evil games are my favourite of all time, from the origins of the series back in '96, it first began, up until Resident Evil 4. I don't think there's ever been a better group of games ever made. The games lost their way, became way too action orientated, the spin-offs were shit, and that forced the reboot of the franchise with 7, and then the remakes of 2 and 3. I've given Capcom hell in the past. I've absolutely pummeled them, criticised the fuck out of them, but with Resident Evil Village, I've got to say, I think they've made a pretty damn good game, I have to say. Something's in my eye, ladies and gentlemen. I remember when Resi 7 came out, I spoke well of it. I spoke well of Remake 2, and then subsequently, down the years after they've released, I realised I did not like Resident Evil 7 at all. I think it's boring, not enough combat. I don't like the game world. I don't like the level design. I don't like the characters. I just don't think I'll ever play Resident Evil 7 again. So when in Resident Evil Village I found out you played as the same bloke, Ethan Winters, I thought, this is going to be exactly the same. But no, they've impressed me quite a bit, and if you look online at the reviews of Resident Evil Village, they're mainly positive. If you look on Google reviews, if you look on Steam, overwhelmingly positive. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I don't think it's quite that good. But if you look at a lot of websites, the main popular, places like Kotaku and Polygon, even though they're just social justice warriors masquerading as journalists, if you ask me, Eurogamer, IGN liked it, they gave it an 8. But the main criticisms that people are aiming at Resident Evil Village is, 1, it's too action orientated compared to 7, and 2, it doesn't know what game it wants to be. That's the main thing that I've seen, and I think that is absolutely absurd. I think this game knows exactly what it wants to be, and I can't believe that I'm sat here defending Capcom after all the shit I've spoken about them for so many years. I get the feeling that this game is going to age better for me than Resi 7, much better. And even Remake 2, this is obviously a fresh game, it's not a remake. Remake 3 was a watered down mess, and now I think I understand why, because this game's longer than Resident Evil 7. People, like I say, are just talking about, oh, there's more combat, there's more action. Yeah, there is, but there's always an intensity to the combat, especially if you play the game for the first time on hardcore like I did. And the level design's better, the areas are more mazy, and much more remind me of Resident Evil original, the old school games, pre-rendered graphics and tank controls era. And I think they've done a pretty good job of having a good balance of combat, exploration, survival, and some puzzles here and there. It's certainly not perfect, but I like the enemy variety as well, something I've criticised them for. The werewolves, the zombies, the robot Terminator things in Heisenberg's factory. It's a very cheesy game, a very camp game. Resident Evil always has been. Well, Resident Evil 7 was still camp, and there's aspects of the game that I don't like, but I think I even prefer the story. I just think it's more replayable, Resident Evil Village. I like the areas. I think they're much more varied than 7, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it's a pretty damn solid game. I could actually see myself doing, perhaps in a year or two, if I keep replaying it, doing a walkthrough for the game. Like I said, I completed it on hardcore, and then I mopped up a heck of a lot of other trophies. I need to do knife only, which is not going to be fun. I need to do the speedrun one and a few others, and I still need to complete the game on the hardest difficulty. One thing I will say is the hardest difficulty, Village's Shadows, apparently they let you use your New Game Plus equipment. Don't know how I feel about that, because what that's saying is basically, yeah, this difficulty is a bit bullshit, we'll let you make it easier. Ultimately, I'd like to not use the New Game Plus stuff. What I'm probably going to do is use it for the trophy and then try it myself, because I believe it changes around the enemies and shit like that. Now, I hated that in Madhouse and Resi 7, but because Resi 8's actually got an upgrade system, and because it's actually fun, I might be interested in it. I even enjoyed the boss encounters as well. Resi 8 is better than Resi 7. Ladies and gentlemen, give me your thoughts. Do you agree with me? But E3 in a couple of weeks. Beyond that, I'm not quite sure what I'll have for you guys, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. And if the audio is shit on this video, which it most probably will be, I am deleting the Logitech software and re-downloading the old one. Bye bye.